Imagine a life where you no longer run after people, approval, or validation. A life where your inner peace is not shaken by noise and your direction is no longer controlled by the opinions of others. Imagine opening your eyes each morning, not to chaos, but to a quiet voice within you. A voice you once drowned out because the world was shouting too loudly. Now imagine this. You are alone, yet you do not feel lonely. You have released what no longer supports your growth. And in that silence, something begins to awaken. Clarity, strength, truth. Buddhism teaches that real transformation does not begin in crowds, but in solitude, where the soul finally has room to breathe. This is where healing begins. This is how you rebuild yourself in stillness. And it begins now with 12 Buddhist principles that will reshape your mind, restore your spirit, and guide you back to who you truly are. 1. Release the illusion of control. Much of our suffering is born from trying to control what was never ours to command. We want people to act a certain way. We want life to follow our plans. We expect situations to unfold exactly as we imagined. And when they don't, frustration, anxiety, and disappointment arise. But here is the truth. You cannot control what others think, say, or choose. You cannot control timing, outcomes, or fate's twists. Life is uncertain. People are imperfect. Circumstances change without warning. Buddhism teaches that suffering is not caused by events themselves, but by our attachment to how we think they should unfold. As the Buddha taught, you only lose what you cling to. The tighter you hold expectations, the deeper the pain when they collapse. When you loosen that grip, something shifts. You begin to meet life as it is, not as you demand it to be. Release the need to force outcomes. Release the urge to fix everyone. Release the craving for perfection. When resistance ends, suffering softens. And in surrender, you do not weaken. You gain wisdom. Because instead of exhausting yourself trying to control life, you begin to master the one thing always within reach, your response. That is where your true power lives. Not in domination, but in grace. 2. Sit with yourself, not your distractions. In today's world, escaping yourself has never been easier. The moment discomfort appears, there is a screen to scroll, music to play, content to consume, or conversations to hide within. Over time, this creates a subtle danger. You begin to avoid your own presence. Silence becomes uncomfortable. Stillness feels threatening. Slowly, you become unfamiliar with your own mind. Buddhism teaches that healing begins when distractions end. Why is sitting with yourself essential? Because beneath the noise lives truth. Beneath discomfort rests clarity. And the emotions you buried, sadness, guilt, longing, are not enemies. They are messengers. When you sit alone without reaching for your phone, without numbing your thoughts, you begin to hear what your soul has been whispering all along. You realize you were never empty, only unattended, never broken, only unheard. So sit, not as punishment, but as a return. Let the silence feel strange. Let emotions surface. Watch them like clouds drifting across the sky. No judgment, only awareness. Because when you are fully present with yourself, without escape, you remember who you truly are. And that remembering is transformation. 3. Embrace the pain that reshapes you. Most people run from pain. We believe it is something wrong, something to avoid. But in Buddhism, pain is not the enemy. It is a teacher, a mirror, the opening through which light enters. Growth never feels comfortable. It feels like confusion, loss, and collapse. Just as a seed must split open to grow, Parts of you must fall apart to rise again. Pain is not here to punish you. It is here to refine you. When you sit with suffering instead of escaping it, wisdom reveals itself. Heartbreak shows you what mattered. Failure uncovers strength you never knew existed. Silence brings you face to face with what needs healing. You cannot rebuild while hiding from pain. Shift the question. Instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" That shift turns pain into power. The most peaceful people are not those who avoided suffering, but those who met it with grace and allowed it to transform them. Do not rush away from what hurts. Let it dissolve the version of you that was afraid, dependent, and lost. From those ashes, clarity and strength arise. Pain, when met with awareness, does not destroy you. It rebuilds you. 4. Simplify your life. Expand your spirit. In a world that urges more, faster, louder, simplicity seems weak. But in Buddhism, simplicity is a return to peace. Look closely. How much do you carry that you do not need? How much energy is lost maintaining clutter, commitments, noise, and draining relationships? Desire, Buddha taught, is the root of suffering, not only for things, but for more. More recognition, more possessions, more stimulation. Transformation does not come from adding. It comes from releasing. Ask yourself, what truly supports my peace? Simplify your space. Release what you do not use. Simplify relationships. Choose depth over numbers. Simplify the mind by letting go of thoughts that no longer serve you. With less weight, you gain more freedom, more breath, more presence, more growth. Simplicity is not loss, it is alignment. It creates inner space where your spirit can rise without interference. Quiet your life enough to hear your soul again. The less you cling to excess, the more you return to yourself. 5. Become the observer, not the reaction. One of Buddhism's deepest teachings is this: you are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the awareness watching them. Triggers arise. A word, a memory. Fear appears. Anger floods in. Without awareness, reactions take over. But Buddhism teaches stillness. Observe emotions as passing clouds. They come, they go. You do not chase them. You do not become them. You pause. You breathe. You stay present. In that pause, power returns. Between stimulus and response, freedom lives. Emotions are not enemies. Losing yourself within them is. Practice naming them gently. Anger is here. Fear is here. And breathe. Let the wave pass without pulling you under. This is mastery of the mind. Strength is not reacting fastest, but remaining still long enough to choose peace. 6. Release the old self to become who you are meant to be. Within each of us lives a version shaped by fear, rejection, pain, and past experiences. Perhaps it is the version that feels never good enough, the one that expects failure, the one that learned to stay small after being criticized, abandoned, or misunderstood. Over time, without noticing, you begin to believe that version is who you truly are. You start saying things like, "I'm just anxious. I always mess things up. This is just how I am." But Buddhism teaches a powerful truth. There is no fixed self. Identity is not permanent. It changes. It evolves. It can be rebuilt. To become someone new, you must be willing to loosen your grip on who you used to be. Release the self that doubts its worth. Release the self that shrinks to fit in. Release the self that keeps replaying the same painful story. That version of you was not wrong. It did what it could to help you survive. But survival is not the same as growth. Growth begins when you stop living from wounds and start living from wisdom. this does not happen overnight. It happens moment by moment when you choose to act as the person you are becoming, not the one you once were. You speak to yourself with kindness. You stop repeating old narratives. You walk with quiet dignity, not from pride, but from self-respect. Letting go of the old self is not about becoming someone else. It is about returning to who you were before the world told you who to be. Breathe deeply. Forgive the past version of you. You are allowed to outgrow who you once were. 7. Learn the strength of walking alone. There will be times when you feel abandoned, unseen, or completely alone. Relationships fade. Support disappears. And you wonder why no one is walking beside you. But what if this solitude is sacred? In Buddhism, solitude is not a punishment. It is an initiation. When you walk alone, without influence or pressure, you meet the most important companion of your life, yourself. Constant connection without self-awareness leads to confusion. You begin living for others instead of from your own truth. In silence, illusions fall away. You hear your own thoughts again. You remember your values, your dreams, your pain, your strength. Buddha himself left comfort, identity, and status. Alone beneath the Bodhi tree, in solitude, awakening occurred. Solitude strips away masks, no applause, no guidance, just you, showing up for your own soul. Walking alone does not mean loneliness. It means becoming strong enough to stand without leaning on others. When you can enjoy your own presence, when peace does not depend on company, wholeness begins. If you feel alone now, understand this is not rejection. It is preparation. 8. Choose mindfulness over multitasking. In modern life, multitasking is celebrated. The more you juggle, the more capable you appear. But divided attention divides life itself. You eat while scrolling. You listen while planning replies. You move while your mind races elsewhere. Buddhism teaches the opposite. Be fully present. When you eat, just eat. When you listen, just listen. When you walk, feel each step. Why does this matter? Because scattered attention creates scattered living. Mindfulness brings you back to now, the only moment that exists. It calms the nervous system. It sharpens clarity. It restores connection. You begin noticing taste, sound, breath. Ordinary moments become sacred. Life stops feeling rushed and starts feeling lived. Slow down. Return to this moment. When you stop multitasking and start being present, you don't just complete tasks. You come home to life. 9. Accept what is. Change what you can. Much suffering comes from fighting reality, replaying mistakes, resisting the present. Buddhism teaches balance, acceptance paired with wise action. Acceptance does not mean surrendering your power. It means making peace with now so you can respond clearly. Ask yourself, can this be changed? If yes, act with wisdom. If not, release it. When you stop fighting what already is, energy returns. Clarity emerges. Action becomes intentional, not reactive. Peace is not the absence of problems. It is clarity within them. 10. Choose compassion, especially for yourself. We often offer kindness to others while judging ourselves harshly. Buddhism teaches compassion must begin within. Self-compassion does not excuse harm. It acknowledges humanity. Growth requires patience. Healing is not linear. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you love. The voice inside becomes the environment your soul lives in. When compassion replaces self-attack, growth becomes possible. This is strength. 11. Break the cycle by breaking the thought. Thoughts shape reality. Repeated thoughts become beliefs. Buddhism teaches awareness as freedom. Observe thoughts without obedience. Question them. Replace what harms with what heals. With awareness, new patterns form. Meditation creates space between thought and belief. When thoughts change, life changes. 12. Return to the breath, your anchor. In chaos, the breath remains, always present, always available. The breath connects body, mind, and awareness. It brings you back from past and future into now. When you breathe with presence, the nervous system calms, the mind settles. You return to yourself. Each conscious breath is a beginning, a return, a reminder you are alive. Transformation begins not outside, but within, in silence, in solitude, in breath. Walk this path gently. The strongest version of you is forged in quiet moments, unseen, unwavering, whole.